The guy everyone calls the future of the NBA, Victor Wembanyama, is now caught in a terrifying situation that nobody saw coming. What looked like a brutal fall has turned into something much more serious behind the scenes. The reports are getting worse. Concern is growing across the league. Even legends like LeBron James are reacting, showing just how massive this moment has become for basketball. From a historic playoff debut to total uncertainty about his immediate future, everything shifted in a matter of hours. So, let's break down exactly what happened, what we know about his condition, and why this could have huge implications for the Spurs and the NBA. Tuesday night in San Antonio was supposed to be one big celebration. The 7'4" center had just accepted the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award, with the trophy still warm in his hand. That win was the first time anyone was a unanimous choice, and Wemby was the youngest player to ever win that honor. The 22-year-old Frenchman swept all 100 first-place votes, while Chet Holmgren of the Thunder finished with 76 second-place votes. The Frostbank Center was electric. The Spurs were the second seed in the Western Conference, and 2 days earlier, Wemby put the league on notice with an all-time performance. Then, with 8:57 left in the second quarter of Game 2 against the Blazers, everything went south. The injury happened on a play where Wembanyama tried a spin move and was fouled by Drew Holiday. As he crashed to the floor, Wembanyama tried to get a pass off, meaning his hands couldn't protect his head as he hit the court. He couldn't brace himself during the fall, and his jaw slammed into the hardwood. When you are 7'4", the distance from standing tall to the floor is a long way down. There is simply no soft landing from that height. You can't quietly absorb the blow when your jaw meets the court at full speed. It took Wembanyama a full minute to struggle back up, clutching his head and shielding his eyes from those bright arena lights. Wembanyama stayed down for 30 seconds before finally sitting up for a full minute to speak with teammate Stephen Castle. The 7'4" star sat under the hoop as the team called for a timeout, while Wemby chants echoed throughout the packed Frostbank Center. He finally popped up and ran through the tunnel toward the locker room, with head trainer Will Sevening following right behind. 18 agonizing minutes later, the official word finally came out. The team announced that Wembanyama entered concussion protocol and would miss the rest of Game 2 against the Blazers. Stephen Castle, the young guard who was right there when Wemby went down, spoke after the game. "I was just checking on him, making sure he was doing okay," Castle said. He ran off the floor himself, so obviously that is a good sign. But honestly, it did not feel like a good sign to the 19,000 fans inside that arena, or for the Spurs coaching staff, and definitely not for millions at home who watched this 22-year-old superstar faceplant on live TV during his second playoff game. Shams Charania confirmed it later. Wembanyama was officially diagnosed with a concussion and is scheduled for more medical testing this Wednesday. Now everyone is asking the same thing: when will Wemby actually be back? To grasp how much this injury hurts the San Antonio Spurs, look at what Wembanyama was doing right before that scary fall. Go back 48 hours. Sunday night, Game 1 of the Spurs' first-round series against Portland. Victor Wembanyama dropped 35. That is the most for any Spurs playoff debut. He led them to a 111-98 win. The performance was absolutely staggering. Wemby's stat line? 35 points on 13 of 21 shooting, including 5 threes. He added 5 boards and 2 blocks, shattering Tim Duncan's old record of 32 points in a postseason debut. Let that sink in. Tim Duncan's record from 1998 had been the San Antonio gold standard for 28 years. Wembanyama cruised past it with 35 points that felt totally effortless. He did not just break the record, he tore it apart with precision. He put up 21 points by halftime. That set a new NBA record for scoring in the first half of a playoff debut. It sent the Spurs into the locker room with a huge lead. He crushed the 20-point mark previously held by stars like Kyrie Irving and Brandon Jennings. The way he scored those buckets was pure magic. He was a threat from everywhere, including a 6-foot runner on the baseline, a fadeaway 3 from the corner, a deep step-back 3, plus a full-court dunk that brought all 19,000 fans to their feet. Portland threw 8 different defenders at him. He scored on every single one. He went 4 for 6 against Donovan Clingan. He went 2 for 5 against Robert Williams. San Antonio legends were watching from the front row. Wemby closed it out with a 14-point fourth quarter while legends like Duncan and Robinson watched. When the big screen showed Duncan and Robinson sitting together during the second half of the game, the arena erupted. It was easily the loudest the crowd got all night. The symbolism was obvious. The past met the present, the old guard passed the torch. This was the first Spurs playoff game without Coach Popovich since 1999. That long era included 5 NBA championships. This was also the franchise's first playoff appearance and win since 2019. San Antonio had survived a 6-year drought, their longest ever. Wembanyama was finally the rain they needed. Then came Game 2. With one bad fall, all that incredible momentum just vanished. The French star played only 12 minutes, putting up just 5 points. He added 4 rebounds and 1 assist on 1 of 3 shooting. Once he left, the Spurs fought hard. They played with grit and led by as many as 14 in the third. But Portland smelled blood and started clawing their way back. Scoot Henderson exploded to lead the Blazers past the Spurs in a tight 106-103 win. Portland secured that 106-103 victory to knot the series up at 1 game apiece. The series is deadlocked, but Wemby was suddenly nowhere to be seen. As Wembanyama underwent medical tests at a local San Antonio hospital, LeBron James was busy on the other side of the playoff bracket, doing what he has done for 23 years, dominating postseason ball. King James turned back the clock with 28 points, 8 boards, and 7 assists to push the Lakers past Houston, taking a commanding 2-0 series lead. At 41 years old, deep into his 23rd NBA season, LeBron is still here, still balling, and still carrying the Lakers on his back. Even 23 years in, James is showing no signs of slowing down. 20.8, 7 assists, 6 boards, shooting 51%. Yet despite his longevity, even LeBron admits the future belongs to the tall Frenchman resting in concussion protocol down in South Texas. Mere weeks ago, on the Mind the Game podcast, LeBron dropped a comment that sent ripples through the entire NBA community. I am glad I will be out of the league when Wembanyama's prime hits. I will be happy just watching from afar and checking my golf tee time for tomorrow, James admitted. Coming from the king himself, a man who has ruled as the world's best for 2 decades, that admission was absolutely stunning. And LeBron's inner circle felt the exact same way. His longtime agent, Rich Paul, doubled down while speaking on the Game Over podcast. Wemby is going to be the face of the NBA. I'm certain. He is humble, but he dominates on both ends of the court every single night, Paul explained. He added, "We all love the Giants anyway. That is the NBA's history. Watching him, it is impossible not to root for the kid to win." Now, think about the massive weight behind that endorsement. This is Rich Paul, the architect of LeBron's empire, the man behind the greatest player of our time, openly declaring that Victor Wembanyama is officially next, not Luka, not Shai, and definitely not Anthony Edwards. Wemby. The link between James and Wembanyama has been growing stronger all season long, but it is another legendary superstar that Wemby is being compared to now. 20 years ago, LeBron James made his postseason debut for the Cleveland Cavaliers, dropping 32 points, 11 boards, and 11 assists. Back then, James was only the 3rd player ever to post a triple-double in a playoff debut. Much like King James, the Spurs' young star played his first playoff game in his 3rd professional season. Wembanyama is currently the same age LeBron was back then, a year after his debut, when he led Cleveland to the finals against Tim Duncan's Spurs. The parallels are frankly eerie, the timing is poetic, and seeing LeBron still playing while Wemby rises is a once-in-a-generation overlap. 2 legendary eras colliding right now in the same playoff bracket, but there is also a deeply human side to this story. As Wembanyama starts writing his legend, LeBron James is finally beginning to close the book. Rumors are swirling that James might actually leave the Lakers this coming offseason. Look, at 41, you have to realize retirement is always on the table. When LeBron watches a 22-year-old hit the floor in the playoffs, it is more than just basketball. He sees how fragile it is. One bad step or awkward fall can threaten everything a player has spent years building. Their playful moments this season really showed that deep mutual respect. Like when Wemby was asked if he would cry once LeBron finally retires. Wemby's answer? Totally blunt. No. The whole room cracked up. He did admit things will feel strange when James eventually leaves the NBA court. That exchange perfectly captured their dynamic. Real respect, some humor, and that feeling that one legend's exit starts another's reign. The concussion protocol is not optional. It is a strict gauntlet that you cannot rush no matter the stakes. Following league safety guidelines, a player cannot return to full action until 48 hours after the initial injury. Then, they have to clear several benchmarks while remaining completely symptom-free. Those tests are tough and thorough. The protocol is a detailed process requiring him to be symptom-free while gradually increasing his physical exertion through several stages. Moving from a stationary bike to jogging to court drills, it is all strictly monitored by a doctor specializing in neurological injuries. Both team and league doctors must give the green light. Game 3 is Friday night in Portland, then Game 4 is Sunday. This playoff series is tied 1-1. It is unlikely Wemby clears by then. When asked if Wemby could play, Coach Mitch Johnson was measured, simply stating that the protocol is the protocol. They will follow the rules and plan accordingly. But what happens when you lose the league's most dominant two-way star? We saw the answer play out during the second half. Veteran Luke Kornet stepped in to play center, putting up 10 points and 9 boards in 28 minutes. Kornet actually did a great job, all things considered. But Portland coach Tiago Splitter admitted the mood changed once Wemby left. Those images looked bad, Splitter admitted. Keldon Johnson tried to stay positive after the loss. We are hoping for the best, but haven't heard. Clearly, obviously, losing the big man is a massive hit, but we are a good team. We will stay together and keep doing exactly what got us here. Castle says they have played tough without him. We want him back, but the stats are sobering. Wemby averaged 25 points, 11 rebounds, and over 3 assists. Plus blocks. He became the only NBA player to ever record over 1,500 points, 700 rebounds, and 150 blocks in a season. That level of two-way impact is honestly impossible to replace. If he stays out, San Antonio's in serious trouble. They're the Western Conference second seed with plenty of talent, but he's the key. This entire system was built around what Victor brings to both ends of the floor, making this timing feel absolutely brutal. The Spurs are finally back in the postseason for the first time since 2019. Fans waited 6 long years to return to the big stage, and the star who carried them is currently in a dark room undergoing neurological tests. San Antonio swept Portland in the regular season, winning all 3 matchups, and funnily enough, Wemby didn't even play in those games. So, they've proven they can win without him, but NBA playoff basketball is a whole different beast. The pressure rises. There is zero margin for error now. Facing a hungry Trailblazers team led by Scoot Henderson and Denny Avdija requires your best player on the court. So what happens next for the Spurs? Honestly, nobody has a clue yet. We still don't know if Victor returns for Game 3 this Friday, April 24th, or later in the series. Best case scenario? Maybe Victor suits up this Friday in Portland. If Wednesday's tests look good and his symptoms clear up fast, and if he breezes through the league's return to play protocol without any issues, there's a chance. But it's a very small chance. The superstar could still make Game 3 in Portland on Friday, depending on the injury severity, but right now he's looking highly questionable. Worst case scenario, Wemby misses several games, maybe the whole first round, and the Spurs must fight through Portland with Luke Kornet at center, leaving 19,000 Fiesta-clad fans praying for big performances from Castle, Fox, and Vassell. The impact here goes way beyond San Antonio. He is playing as well as anyone in the world right now, and losing him for a while would throw a massive wrench in the Western Conference playoffs. TV networks, sponsors, fans everywhere, everyone tuned in this year to watch Victor Wembanyama finally take that next step. Without him, it's not just the Spurs who lose, the 2026 playoffs lose their biggest star. Then there is the human side, something LeBron James knows better than anyone else on the planet. LeBron has dealt with injuries for 20 years. He's seen teammates go down, seen rivals head to the locker room, and felt the isolation of sitting out while your team needs you most. On his podcast, when he said he was glad he wouldn't have to face Wemby's prime, there was a deeper meaning that most people totally missed. It wasn't just respect. It was a veteran knowing that a player like Wemby at that height, that skilled, and that reliant on elite coordination is extremely vulnerable to the exact type of injury we saw on Tuesday. When you're standing 7'4" and you drop, the physics are absolutely brutal. There's a longer way to fall, way more force at impact. Then there's the scary reality of head injuries. They don't follow a clear schedule like a twisted ankle or knee. Concussions are invisible wounds with very real, visible consequences, and rushing your recovery can cause damage that lasts way past a single playoff series. San Antonio knows this. This isn't the kind of injury doctors should let a player push through. With the series tied at 1-1, the pressure to return will be huge, but Wemby has to prioritize his long-term health. LeBron James built a 23-season legacy because he respected his own body, monitored his workload, and knew one game is never worth risking an entire career. That is the hidden lesson in everything he mentioned about Wembanyama. When he speaks about Wemby hitting his prime, it's more than just a compliment. He's basically saying, look after yourself because the world needs to see you reach your full potential. The 2026 playoffs go on. LeBron will continue driving the Lakers forward. The Spurs will keep battling for every ball with or without their star. But that image from Tuesday night, a 7'4" giant face down on the hardwood, the arena going quiet, the future of basketball momentarily dimmed, serves as a reminder that greatness and fragility share the same court. Victor Wembanyama will return, whether it's Friday, Sunday, or later. The kid who dropped 35 points in his postseason debut, the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year winner, and the one who has LeBron James relieved he won't face him in his prime, that young star will return. The only question is when, and until then, the basketball world is waiting.